Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जगद्गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की, सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। भागवतम भागवतम बुक। Okay, that's it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we will continue reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the Canto 5, the Structure of the Universe, chapter number 20 and verse number 6 onwards. So I'll cover a few verses. Some of the verses doesn't have purport, hence I will cover a few verses until we reach one purport of Srila Prabhupada. I don't know the meter of this one. Palakshadisu panchasu. No. Purushanam. Okay. Palakshadishu panchasu Purushanam. Plakshadishu panchasu Purushanam. Ayur indriyam ojasaho balam. Ayur indriyam ojasaho balam. Buddhir vikrama iti cha sarvesham. Buddhir vikrama iti cha sarvesham. Autpattiki siddhir avisheshena vartate. Autpattiki siddhir avisheshena vartate. Please. Plakshadishu panchasu purushanam. Ayurindriya ojasa saho balam. Buddhir vikramayati cha sarvesham. Autpattiki siddhira avisheshena vartate. Rakshadvisu panchasu purushana Ayurindriya Balam Buddhir Vikramati cha sarvesham Lakshadishu Mataji's, please. Lakshadishu panchasu purushana Atpadiki siddhira avisheshana vartate. Word by one translation. Plaksha Adishu. In the islands headed by Plaksha. Panchasu. 5. Purushanam. Of the inhabitants. Ayuhu. Long duration of life. Indriyam. Soundness of the senses. Ojaha. Bodily strength. Sahaha. Mental strength. Balam. Physical strength. Buddhihi. Intelligence. Vikramaha. Bravery. Iti. Thus. Cha. Also. Sarvesham. Of all of them. Autpatiki. Inborn. Siddhihi. Perfection. Avisheshena. Without distinction. Vartate. Exist. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O King, longevity, sensory prowess, physical and mental strength, intelligence and bravery are naturally and equally manifested in all the inhabitants of the 5 islands headed by Plakshadvipa. Please repeat after me. O King, longevity, sensory prowess, physical and mental strength, intelligence and bravery are naturally and equally manifested in all the inhabitants of the 5 islands headed by Plakshadvip. So here, description of Plakshadvip is going on. There are 7 dvipas. So we already very much in detail covered Jambudvip. So now other islands are being described. Text number 7. Plakshadvip is surrounded by an ocean of sugarcane juice, equal in breadth to the island itself. Similarly, there is then another island, Salmalidvipa, twice as broad as Plakshadvipa, 400,000 yojanas or 3,200,000 miles, and surrounded by an equally broad body of water called Surasagar, the ocean that tastes like liquor. Text number 8. On Salmali Dvipa, there is a Salmali tree from which the island takes its name. That tree is as broad and tall as Plaksha tree. In other words, 100 yojanas broad and 1100 yojanas tall. Learned scholars say that this gigantic tree is the residence of Garuda, the king of all birds and carrier of Lord Vishnu. In that tree, Garuda offers Lord Vishnu his Vedic prayers. Text number 9. The son of Maharaj Priyavrat, named Yagnabahu, the master of Salmali Dvipa, divided the island into 7 tracts of land, which he gave to his 7 sons. The names of those divisions, which correspond to the names of the sons, are Surochan, Saumanasya, Ramanaka, Devavarsha, Paribhadra, Apyayana, and Avignata. Text number 10. In those tracts of land, there are 7 mountains: Swarasa, Satasringa, Vamadeva, Kunda, Mukunda, Pushpavarsha, and Sahasrashruti. There are also 7 rivers: Anumati, Sinivali, Saraswati, Kuhu, Rajni, Nanda, and Raka. They are still existing. Text number 11. Strictly following the cult of Varnashram Dharma, the inhabitants of those islands, who are known as Shrutidhars, Vidyadhars, Vasundharas, and Isandharas, all worship the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead named Soma, the moon god. Text number 12. The inhabitants of Salmali Dvipa worship the demigod of the moon in the following words. By his own rays, the moon god has divided the month into 2 fortnights. By his own rays, the moon god has divided the month into 2 fortnights, known as Shukla and Krishna, for the distribution of food grains to the Pitas and the demigods. The demigod of the moon is he who divides time, and he is the king of all the residents of the universe. We therefore pray that he may remain our king and guide, and we offer him our respectful obeisances. So these are the prayers by inhabitants of Salmali Dvipa to moon god. And text number 13. Outside the ocean of liquor is another island known as Kushadvip, which is 800,000 yojanas wide, twice as wide as the ocean of liquor. As Salmali Dvipa is surrounded by a liquor ocean, Kushadvipa is surrounded by an ocean of liquid ghee, as broad as the island itself. On Kushadvipa, there are clumps of kusha grass from which the island takes its name. This kusha grass, which was created by the demigods by the will of the Supreme Lord, appears like a second form of fire, but with very mild and pleasing flames. Its young shoots illuminates all direction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. From the descriptions in this verse, we can make an educated guess about the nature of the flames on the moon. Like the sun, the moon must also be full of flames, because without flames there cannot be illumination. The flames on the moon, however, unlike those on the sun, must be mild and pleasing. This is our conviction. The modern theory that the moon is full of dust is not accepted in the verses of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. In regard to this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Su sapani su komala sikhas tesam rochisa. The kusha grass illuminates all directions, but its flames are very mild and pleasing. This gives some idea of the flames existing on the moon. Om Jnani Tirmandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Parijan Prabhuti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatadistayani. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So with blessing of all the devotees, I would endeavor to speak glories of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Especially this subject matter is quite vast, and same time it is very complex as well. And the structure of the universe. So definitely I have no qualification whatsoever to speak on this subject matter, but whatever I have learned and heard from the devotees and books of Srila Prabhupada, I would repeat. So here we see Srila Prabhupada in the purport mentions that we don't accept modern science, what they say about moon god. So here in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, especially the 5th canto, we'll come across so many descriptions that sounds very, very fantastic. So fantasy means something which is not real. So that's where the word fantastic comes. Something amazing. So, no, but it is very much real. This description is very much real. The scientist, through their limited perception, sense perception and the limited understanding, they want to say something about creation and origin of species, which actually very much incorrect. Prabhupada would often say that yes, science has progressed so much and has given us so much understanding and knowledge. And we give them due credit. That's fine. We can give them due credit, whatever they have done. But why they are saying there is no God? There is a problem. They say there is no God. So we have a problem with that, and not that what you have made and discovered. So scientists will say to us that you prove that there is God. But Prabhupada would say, you disprove that there is no God. Can you do that? No. In front of us there are so many evidences, but we become blind to those. Just a simple thing. For example, if you walk out, these flowers, for example, these flowers are having so much fragrance. It has a form, it has such a nice colors, right? There are some fruits. So if you plant a mango tree, next to that you plant apple tree, they both will grow. And mango will have distinct taste, and same same goes to apple tree. It will have also very distinct taste. But roots are going into same earth, and they are just next to each other. So isn't that miracle? But scientists will try to explain, no, this is how it works and this and that, Okay. If you really know, then make something and then you prove that, yes, I know. If you want to claim that I know, that means you have to prove it. So make a seed in your laboratory, of apple and a mango, and then you grow and show us that you can make. Then you can say, yes, we know that how it works. But we say, no, it is God's creation. That's how it works. Same goes with flowers. Make artificial flowers in your laboratory and seed into, you put it into soil and let it grow. Can you do that? No. Small insects like an ant. If you have sugar on first floor, it will find its way and go there. Can you make a machine that goes and finds sugar on the first floor? Tiny machine like that, and so you may give explanation all those things. This is how it's been created, and we know the origin. There is no God involved in that. It is all physics and chemicals. No, you are just speculating. You cannot disprove. You cannot disprove that our verdict that God does exist. You cannot disprove that. So they have very much limitations. Of course, we know that human beings have 4 defects. What are those 4 defects? Imperfect senses, then illusion, yeah, to be illusioned in between. Long time, Bhakti Shastri? Forgot? What are the 4 defects of human being? Yes, cheating propensity and commit mistakes. Yes. So this is there. Scientists are no different than human beings. They are after all human beings who has these limitations. So with their imperfect senses, they try to observe, they try to analyze, and they present something. But your apparatus is first of all defective, which is made by your defective senses and your defective understanding. So how can that apparatus will be perfect? And whatever that apparatus is giving you will also be having limitations. It will be also having faults in that. But they project that as if it is perfect. So, and then this whole science is based on 2 things, 2 theories they have. Still it is called theory. Still, it is not proven fact. Still it is called theory. So which are those theories? Have you studied in your school? Scientists say about creation and origin of species. Which are the 2 theories? Big Bang. And for origin of species? Evolution, yes, by Charles Darwin, right? So these are the 2 theories. These are their foundations, their grantha, their shastras, on which whole explanation of creation and origin of species is built upon. But it has so many defects, so many limitations to that. And Prabhupada, if you read, and especially if you hear his morning conversation with his devotees, it's very much, so much informative, very interesting. Prabhupada would defeat, he would make his disciple to take position of modern scientists and doctors and engineers, and even sometime, Mayavadis and impersonalists, and you pose argument and I will smash you, like that. So that was Prabhupada's pleasure, and that's how he would teach his disciples, that don't get swayed away what these people, these materialistic people say. Although they have big names and big positions and reputation in this material world, but they are nothing in front of, devotees. So Prabhupada would give very simple, even very simple explanation to just debunk those theory. But even if we want to explain these scientists, the big people, with evidences and proofs and so much data in their own language, scientific language, if you want to present, still they will not accept. Still they will reject. No, these are all bogus, we can't accept that. Why? Because there is so much politics, even in this field, politics of truth, politics in education. And it can be governed as big as 10 people, team of 10 people that governs whole education system all over world. So you may give lectures and present your viewpoint from Shastra and your studies and research. You may go even to university and present, but they don't count that. Unless you present research paper. Prabhu has produced so many research papers, right? So your viewpoint is not accepted, isn't it? Unless you present that research paper. So then they have whole setup that you have to present research paper, and it will go through panel of their so-called learned people, and then they go through, and if they approve, then it will be published in their journals, which have their own reputation, and then your viewpoint is accepted into mainstream, and then it will be taught to other people. So very much controlled. This thing is very much controlled, and when you present, if it doesn't fit in their understanding, it doesn't fit into Darwin's theory and Big Bang theory, which is something outside of that, then you are ridiculed, you are rejected. Come on, get lost from here. They don't accept. So that's how they very much control it. It's politics, big politics into that. Some devotees from our ISKCON, like Sadaputa Prabhu, Drutkarma Prabhu, then Danvir Goswami Maharaj, and so many other devotees, Bhaktivedanta Institute. Under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Institute has published and produced so much enormous research work on these subject matters. But they don't accept. Although they say, we are empirical evidence we need to accept that. We give them empirical evidence. Yes, science is based on that. You see, observe, and then yes, it works. Let's accept. But there are so many evidences given, but still they don't accept. If you hear Sadaputa Prabhu's lectures and his books, he would present so many cases like that. When they did research, they found so many cases of archaeologists. They came up with some skulls and bones, and they do carbon dating of those things, and that dates way back so many thousands of years. So that proves that even that time human being was existing. They were there. But as per Darwin's theory, no, only certain period before that there was no human beings on the earth. So what about this evidence? No, there must be mistake, and they ridicule and they don't accept. And you won't find that information anywhere. Prabhu was saying that some cases we had to search so much. You won't find even trace of those cases which were rejected by the mainstream science. They basically make it disappear. There are no evidences, so no one can actually dug into these things and find and argue with them. So there are so many cases like that. For example, this out-of-body experience. So even Stephen has done so much research on that subject matter, but still they don't accept. If, for example, something happens to us, cases are like that, and then that person goes to hospital, and he is fainted, he is not conscious anymore. Doctors perform some operation on his body, and then after some time, that person revives consciousness, he comes out, and he speaks to doctor. And he will say that, doctor, yes, I saw what you were doing. You cut my belly, and there you were doing something. You asked for this tool, and then you did that. But in meanwhile, you cracked a joke also. You cracked a joke about my protruded belly. I didn't like that, honestly speaking. And like that, this patient is telling doctor. So that patient was not there. He was unconscious. How could he see? Yes, he was out of the body and he observed from there. And he repeats what the doctor said, what tools they used, everything word to word. So there are so many cases he presented like that. But still, reincarnation is considered myth. It doesn't exist. We have only one life. Body takes birth and death. That's it. Enjoy. Enjoy to your full extent, as much as you can. So this is the reason, actually. This is the reason they don't let their viewpoint to be challenged and destroyed. Otherwise, if this Darwin's theory and Big Bang theory collapse, then what happens? Then whole empire of sense gratification will collapse. And this is why they don't allow that. Because what is it after all? When you speak about this thing that debunk Darwin's theory and Big Bang theory and their whole science, present modern materialistic science, then you have to bring soul into discussion. You have to bring Supreme Being, God, into discussion. And when soul and God is talked about, that means people will have their attention towards the spiritual subject matter. So they will be taken away from the materialistic thing, and they will be more interested into spiritual thing. So their consumerism will go down. When you have spiritual understanding, you will naturally become interested into many other subject matters which is related to spirit soul. So you may become detached from the material world. You may not indulge yourself into consumerism. What will happen? So their whole business of sense gratification will collapse. So this is why they very much protect themselves, and they have big lobbying. It's a big politics to protect themselves, so they can continue their sense gratification in the material world. So here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we don't accept viewpoint of this science. This moon is having very beautiful form and very beautiful, pleasant rays coming from the moon, which gives life to all the living beings, especially the vegetation. And this Kushagrass is mentioned on this dweep, is also emanating very subtle and very beautiful effulgence. It appears like a mild fire. So this is the description. But if you read that, oh no, come on, this is very, very unrealistic. But no, this is very much true. So we are, as I said, we are very much limited. Our senses are very much limited. To experience this universe, you need a certain level of consciousness. And same time, if you want to travel to the other parts of universe, you need certain type of body. So, according to your karma, you will receive certain type of body and consciousness by which you can explore this universe, you can witness this universe. So the version we read in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is actually from the viewpoint of demigods. It is not from the human observation. It is from the demigods. So demigods have different body and they have different consciousness by which they have observed this universe, and they are presenting us. So for us it looks very unrealistic. It's just like that, if you have ant roaming around in this room. So ant doesn't have any understanding whatsoever about city, the beautiful city of Melbourne, most livable city in the world. They won so many awards like that, consecutive years, but maybe no more now. So the downtown city, the Eureka skyscraper, this ant have no relation whatsoever. It is just beyond its imagination and beyond its perceivable reach, and cannot perceive. But does it mean that Eureka Tower in the city doesn't exist? It has its own life there. In the tower, so many people live, so many offices are there, and so many activities going around. But this ant doesn't have any clue whatsoever. So we are like that ant in front of demigods. We have no clue whatsoever what is happening in the universe. So it is about the karma, and the ant. That ant is limited by its body, limited by its consciousness, and its karma is such that is trapped. That ant is trapped, is conditioned to live in that surrounding, and it has limitations. So same way we are also conditioned to live in particular place, and we have very limited movement and very limited perception. So by our senses we cannot comprehend the great vast material universe. So we take guidance from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We accept what Śrīmad Bhāgavatam says about that. Many things. For example, the Mount Sumeru is right in the center of this universe, and it's a big object, actually speaking, very tall Mount Sumeru. But if you take your powerful telescopes, can you see, no matter which direction you go and focus your telescope, can you locate Mount Sumeru? It is big object just next to us. It's very close in comparison to whole universe. Jambudvipa is in the center, and in center of Jambudvipa there is a Sumeru mountain, and we are just next to it, actually speaking. Bharatvarsha is very close to this Mount Sumeru. But can we see that? No. We cannot. You need particular, as I said, particular consciousness to travel and to witness. For example, yogis who have these siddhis, Prabhupada would say that they enter into Ganges river in Himalayas and they come out in Prayag in Allahabad, when they have Kumbh Mela. So, it appears that they travel through waterways very quickly. But it is again, very unrealistic understanding. We say, how can, that is also very much, amazing, travel from that long distance, from Himalaya to Prayag. But actually, not even that, they don't have to even travel. They just enter at one point and they come out in another point. That is that mystical. And Prabhupada also gives example of a yogi. He had a siddhi to bring some objects from the far place, distant place. So he would bring pomegranates from Afghanistan. That yogi Prabhupada talked about. So imagine this kind of siddhis, you can defy the laws of physics, and this is achieved through higher consciousness. When we are evolved, then these things are accessible to us. But at this time, we cannot. So different living beings have different consciousness. And they are controlled by these things. Description of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, they say it's a mythology. But no, it is not mythology, it is real. Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he uses the word in Bhagavad Gita about material world, anityam. He doesn't say mithya. He doesn't say mithyam. He says anityam, which is not nitya, means it has a creation and then it stays for some time and then it gets destroyed and again gets created. So anitya, it is not continuous. But it is not mithya, it is nitya, anitya. So like that, people would say, yes, this is, especially impersonalist and Mayavadis, that this Jagat is mithya. But no, it is not mithya, it is very much real. The description of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam given of the universe is very much real. And we also will see so much description. It may appear that it has some contradiction, and we need very much reconciliation. Sometimes it appears that, how come this be here, presented here is saying this, and the other places it says something else. So we need great reconciliation also. And we have to understand these descriptions are not from just present point of time, but it covers long time in the past as well. So every kalpa goes through different transformation. This universe, every manvantar there is partial destruction, and end of the day, each kalpa there is again partial destruction, and end of Lord Brahma's life there is a complete destruction. So there are so many destruction happens, and each manvantar will have slight different creation, a little bit different things happen in each kalpa. So this Bhagavatam book is covering incidences from different kalpas and different manvantars. And sometime you want to talk about different universe also. So we have to really dug up and study, then only we can reconcile. There may appear some contradictions. There are some examples I can present if we have time. So yes, so many destructions, creation destructions constantly happen. Do you know 4 types of destructions mentioned in 11th canto? 11th or 12th? Annihilation, 4 types of annihilations. Yes. The first one is a nityam. It's a constant annihilation. And there is constant annihilation happens. What is that refer to? Yes, time is there, yeah. Through time. Time is involved in all the destruction. But the particular nityam destruction is, it's always happening. Our body cells are always changing and, taking birth and dying. And same way, end of certain years, we'll quit our body, we'll take another body. So always birth and death is going on in front of us. So there is nityam destruction. And then there is a naimittika, which is actually the partial destruction. Every manvantar, end of every manvantar, partial destructions happen. So the planetary system below moon, the Bhauma Swarga and lower planetary system gets destroyed. And then there is another destruction happen, partial destruction happens at the time of day of Lord Brahma, and the time of end of Kalpa. So that is also partial destruction, where Lord Brahma's planet remains, but all the other planetary system again submerged or burns into fire, submerged into water, Garbhodaka ocean, and all the living entities goes into body of Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then again they come out after the night of Brahma finishes. And then there is another destruction, which is, Sanskrit name is, I'm not sure, Prakrita. Prakrita destruction. So that happens end of Lord Brahma's life. So where whole Brahmand is annihilated, goes into body of Mahavishnu, and then when Mahavishnu exile, again those universes come into being, existence. And then there is a final destruction, anta destruction, antika destruction, something like that. So that is basically when Jiva gets liberated and goes back to Godhead. So that is also annihilation, final annihilation. And so there are different creations and different annihilations continuously happening, time to time. So this Bhagavatam book is presenting from not only this time, but even time in the past, many incidences and many viewpoints. So we have to see that. So here, since we are studying structure of the universe, especially in this chapter, it started from 15th chapter, and we have very much in detail studied Jambudvip. So now Sukadeva Goswami is explaining further different 7 dvipas, and we will cover in future movement of sun, upper planetary system, lower planetary system, and so many other beautiful explanation of the creation. So I kind of gathered some images from a book from Bhaktivedanta Vidyapit, they published. And of course this, as I mentioned, many devotees over the years have studied this Shastra and presented and tried to understand this intricate subject matter of structure of the universe, and they have presented. So this book has many nice illustrations which I have compiled and will go through to give you a brief understanding of what this universe is like. As I mentioned, I am not expert either on this subject matter, and it is very deep and complex subject matter, very vast. So, but whatever we can understand, we'll see. Sukadeva Goswami himself, when this topic started in 15th chapter, he says, you want to know structure of this universe, even I don't know in full extent, So Sukadeva Goswami himself says that. But I will present what I know, like that he said. So we are following his footsteps, and we'll study what we can understand. And again, this, what is the benefit of, studying this subject matter? It is part of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It may appear very boring, For me, it's not boring. For me, it's very, 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 very interesting subject matter. But some people may find very boring. For me, honestly speaking, sometimes, these inhabitants prayed to their presiding deity, this, So that section is a little bit boring for me, So it all depends on consciousness, where you are situated in your devotional life, So you can see what you can relate to. So yes, this subject matter about creation of this universe is from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, and it is part of Lord's creation. It has its value. And Sukadeva Goswami says, one who knows this subject matter, this creation, he'll become free from material bondage. So this is the boon, this is the advantage given, that if you study this creation, you'll become free from material bondage. How? What is the logic behind that? Can anyone say? Yeah. You won't be illusioned, you will be disillusioned. You won't be illusioned like the big scientist, this is our world, this is how it is, You will be disillusioned. You will think about many other subject matters, and of course, you will hear about Supreme Lord, you will hear about living entity, you'll hear about Jiva and Ishvara's relationship. And then you will see, oh yes, this is not the place to live in. Victoria, the place to live. In the number plates, we hear the place to be. No, this is not place to be. You have to get out. So this creation awards this benediction that whoever studies, they will be having impetus to know further about that Supreme Being who has created this world, this universe, and they will desire, they will have impetus to go out of this world and be united with that Supreme Being. So this is the advantage. So let us go through some slides, and I shall briefly explain the universal structure. Okay. Okay, so slides are very basic, and it may not be in a particular order, but as we go, I'll say a little bit about everything. What is there? What is that? Okay. So the universe is like an egg. Brahmanda. Anda means egg. So it is shaped like an egg. And half of the universe is covered by celestial water. And we call it Garbhodaka ocean. And on that ocean, Lord Vishnu, who is expansion of Lord Krishna, there are three Vishnus, right? Mahavishnu, Garbhodaka Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So Mahavishnu is a super soul of whole material creation. And he enters into each and every universe of the whole creation and resides on top of Garbhodaka ocean. So that Vishnu is called Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And he is super soul of that particular universe. And then he further expands into Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who resides in Shvetadvip, in Dhruvalok. He is super soul of each and every atom and living entities within the universe. So on the top of Garbhodaka ocean, Anantashesh is becoming bed of Lord Garbhodaka Vishnu. Lakshmi Devi is massaging, giving her service to Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And from his navel, from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu's navel, comes a lotus flower. And on top of lotus flower is who? Lord Brahma. And within that lotus stem, there are innumerous planets, which are basically divided into three parts: upper planetary system, middle planetary system, and lower planetary system, that we shall see. So again, when Lord Brahma appeared, there was nothing else. The whole place was dark. There was no moon, sun, and no dvipas, nothing, nothing was there. And Lord Brahma performed this austerity for 100 years. Not human earth, not heavenly earth, but his own, Brahma's 100 years. So imagine, Brahma has 100 years of lifetime. Lifetime has 100 years, and he performed austerity for 100 years, same amount. So how can you understand that, After 100 years he would have passed away, After performing tapasya he would have died. No, but at that time even wasn't existing. So there was nothing. So yes, this is how Bhagavatam says. So one can say, by our mind's understanding, how can Lord Brahma lived 100 years of his own, but after 100 years he dies actually. So what happened? No, time wasn't existing. So see, the Bhagavatam goes way back and presents something which wasn't even existing that time, So yes, and then after that Brahma created this secondary creation, this material world within the universe. So we'll see that explanation is given that these 7 dvipas are like a lotus flower. The lotus, if you see from the top, it has some central portion, and around that there are whorls of different petals. So there is first ring, second ring, third ring, fourth ring, so like that. So this is how it is been described. So it looks very beautiful, from the viewpoint of demigods. If you see, it will look like a lotus. So that's how they compared. So it looks like lotus. So in the center, the yellow part, if you see, that is Mount Sumeru or Mount Meru. And just below that, around that, there are little spikes. You will see. So that is actually, that portion is Jambudvip. And in Ilavrat Varsha, we saw, there are so many tall mountains that actually supports Mount Meru. So they look like little spikes, tiny but very tall. Small in a width, but very tall in a length. So they look like that. And then if you go further out, the white portion is another dvipa, and the ocean comes, then another dvipa of the next petal, ring of petals. So like that, it will go. So this is a basic understanding. Go to next. Oh, I have. Sorry. Here you will see Garbhodak ocean, and here you will see interesting thing. There is a kurma, and there is on top of kurma there is a ananta, and also on top of ananta there are 8 elephants, and on top of that there is a disc-like shape which is actually Bhumandala. So that Bhumandala, in the center there is Mount Meru, and then after that is Jambudvip, and then all other dvipas then come after, one by one. And then this Brahmanda has a covering, outer layers of the universe, which are basically elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, ego, intelligence, ego. So it has different layers. Each layer is 10 times thicker than the previous one. And this is very interesting. This, again, where is this Ananta coming from? So this also described in different shastras, and we came across that this Ananta is not Ananta Shesh, he is not Vishnu avatar, but he is actually Shakti-Avish avatar, he is Jiva. So when and this happened in the end of which kalpa? I forgot the number. But when when this Hiranyaksha was killed by Varahadev, it happened in that Manvantar. Chakshusha Manvantar, yes, that's right. So end of Chakshusha Manvantar, when this Bhumandal was sinking, this Varaha, Nila Varaha appeared, and he lifted whole Bhumandala out of Garbhodaka ocean. In that time, Hiranyaksha came and he fought with Varahadev, and Varahadev eventually killed him. And then this Bhumandala was restored. But then Lord Brahma said, you have to do something about this, So this Ananta, who is actually son of Kadru and Kashyapa, he had many other brothers, all snakes, and they were not in good terms with Garuda. They were always fighting. But this Ananta was actually very good person. He wanted to have a nice relationship with everyone. So he performed a lot of austerity, and he performed tapasya, and Brahma got pleased. And he requested Lord Brahma that, I want to serve. I want to engage in some service. So he said, okay, you go down to Garbhodaka ocean and support whole Bhumandal on your hoods. So that's how he comes. But actually snakes cannot swim for a long time in water, and they have to come out. They cannot float. But tortoise can. Tortoise can float. So this Nilvaraha assumed, he transformed into this tortoise, Kurma. So that's basically Lord Vishnu. And then on top of Kurma stays Ananta, and on top of Ananta, a whole Bhumandala is supported. So that's how it's been supported. And the elephants comes also like that, They also wanted some service. So these 8 elephants also came in between. And there are another 4 big gigantic elephants on top of Loka mountain as well. They are also balancing the universe. So, yes. If you have any question, you can ask in between. So, this is Sumeru, and you can read the figures, how tall they are. So 84,000 yojanas, it's outside of Bhumandala, and below Bhumandala there is 16,000 yojanas. And it is like a upside down cone. It is wider on top and smaller on bottom. And on top of this Mount Sumeru, there are Lokpalas. There are 8 Lokpalas, Brahma, Indra, Yama. They have their cities on top of it. And in the center is Brahmapuri. Lord Brahma resides there. So again, we see there are many places. Lord Brahma has his own planet on top of the universe called Satyalok or Brahmalok. He has residence here as well. Same way, you have information that on Pushkar Island, Pushkar Dvipa, there is a Manasottar mountain. And on that mountain, in 4 directions, there are again, 4 cities occupied by Indra, Varuna, like that. And they have places here also. So they have multiple places in the universe. And they can manifest at the same time in each places. They all have inhabitants and their, their associates. Even human being can expand into 9 forms. If we have mystic siddhi, human being also can be present in 9 places at the same time. So what to speak of these demigods? They have much more higher consciousness than we have. Their karma is different than us. So yes, you will see different places, same demigods have different residents. So here, these are Lokpalas, the key, the important demigods resides there.
In the center Brahma, then Vayu, Kumera, Shiva, Indra, Agni, Yama, Niti and Varuna. And yes, in the center from top, that blue color represents Ganges. So when that Leela happened, Vamandev cracked the shell of the universe, and from there celestial water entered into this universe, and it came to Brahmaloka, and from Brahmaloka to Saptaritis planets, and then from there on top of Mount Meru, and from here it divides into 4 directions, and they are known as this Bhadra, Sita, Chakshu, Alakananda, and then it enters into Ilavat Varsha, and then it goes into again further into different Varshas. So this is basically Ganges. Yeah, see, this Ganges is going into different Varshas of Jambudvip. So this is Jambudvip in brief. Center is a Sumeru, and then around that is Ilavrata Varsha, and there are different Varshas we have gone through. And bottom in the south there is Bharat Varsha, and each Varsha are divided by these huge mountains. So Himalaya is on top of Bharat Varsha, and it divides Kimpurusha Varsha and Bharat Varsha. So like that, different mountains are given, their heights and their length. Everything is given there in the Bhagavatam. This is Ilavrat Varsha basically. Different tree, different river, and what the inhabitants are like has been described in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Who are the presiding deities there, and presiding being. For example, Bharat Varsha, Narad Muni is the presiding being, key person, and then Nar Narayan is the presiding deity. Above that, Kimpurusha Varsha, Lord Ram is presiding deity, and inhabitants, key inhabitant is Hanuman. Yes, so in the center there is a Sumeru, and just on the foot of Sumeru is a Jambudvip, the first small circle, and then after that the blue one is a salt ocean, and then next one is another, the one we are reading today, that Varsha comes, Lakshadvipa, and then sugar cane juice in little greenish, brownish. Here you can see, and the distances are given. You can see here all the names and their width. So green one is sugar cane juice, and then next one comes another Varsha, and then yellow one is another ocean. So it has different ocean. We'll come across this description in Bhagavatam as we move forward. And the last one is the Loka mountain. Like many spikes, it says, it is Loka and Alok. So sun rays doesn't pass beyond this mountain. So after that, the region after that is called Aloka. There is no inhabitants, no living entities. And within that ring of that mountain is Loka. So Loka, Aloka, that's how it named, Loka mountain. And then there's this 4 places, Manasottar mountain, 1, 2, 3, 4, that number is written. These are the 4 residents of 4 Lokpalas. So this is a 3D. Here is a vertical cross section of the universe. So you can see the Ananta, and top of his head is Bhumandala. So this Bhumandala is basically Mount Meru and all the 7 Dvipas up to the Lokalok mountain. That is called Bhumandala. Is resting. So below the Sumeru mountain is a lower planetary system, and then from foot of Jambudvipa till the moon is called middle planetary system, and then from moon and above is the upper planetary system. So these are the 3 divisions basically. Upper one is called Swarga, the middle one is called Bhauma Swarga, earthly heaven, except the earth planet, but all other places are like heaven. You have beautiful places, and the living beings enjoy just like demigods. And the below one is lower planet system is called Bila Swarga. Means that is also very opulent, just like a Swarg, but it is subterranean region where light doesn't go. There also, in that place, there are Nagas who have gems on their hoods that actually illuminates whole place. Sunlight doesn't go. There's a little zoom in, you can see. So, yes, there is sun, and there is moon, and there's 28 nakshatras, and then all the different planets, Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn. And then there is a Saptarishi planet, and then there is a Dhruva Loka. This is the Loka where Kshirodakshaya Vishnu resides. And then Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka where Lord Brahma resides. And after that there is little space, it says. That space is also called Vaikuntha, where Vaikuntha, within the material universe. Within the universe there is Vaikuntha planets. And then there is an outer covering, starts with earth, water, fire, air, ether. And as I mentioned, this on Lokaloka mountain as well, there are 4 gigantic elephants. They are balancing the Bhumandala. And the pole star has a key function also. It actually acts as a central pole for all the planetary system, all the planets in the universe. It supports. The axle is connected to the pole star. And here are some numbers. And there is a description of Shishumar that will come in later chapters, where all the planets are this is incarnation. This is like a Virat Purusha, So Narayan is taking form of Shishumar. This is a big gigantic dolphin, and all the planetary system, different limbs of this dolphin has location for these different planets of the universe. Yes, so this is again simplified version of the universe, Ananta, and then lower planetary system, Bhumandala, and then starts Mount Meru, and then upper planetary systems. These are the subterranean heavenly planets. Below, Bhumandala. These are the names. That this will cover in the future. Okay. So currently we are reading the description of Plakshadvipa. We saw that. If anyone has any question, I can take a couple of questions and then we can conclude here. I didn't get your question, sorry. Earth is actually on it bottom of Mount Sumeru. It is way below. It is not that high. So I can show you the figure here in the computer again. So it's on the Bhumandal. It's in part of Jambudvipa. Oh, in the dolphin, Earth wasn't represented well. Okay.
I was trying to understand when you said time wasn't there when Prabhupada was meditating 100 years of his life. Time wasn't present. When Mahavishnu created and the Brahman, so when he impregnate the Mahatattva, it's the living entities and also time.
Yeah.
Otherwise Brahma wouldn't exist. So maybe can we understand that it's another way to understand time? It's another form of time, because I can understand when you said time wasn't present.
So it is there, as Prabhupada mentioned, time is present by its conspicuous presence. So the whole ingredient, when we say Mahatattva, Pradhan, and then from Pradhan comes Mahatattva, and then later on and it transforms into different elements, right? So time is there in Pradhan as well, time is there in Mahatattva as well. But when this effect of time starts, that's creation and then destruction, and in between, that is manifested later on. So you can say that, even earth, water, fire, ether, everything is in Pradhan, even in Mahatattva. So whole ingredient, the sum total of all the elements is present there. So time is present, but it's not acting. It's not.
You can say that it's 100 years of Brahma if time wasn't, the effect of time wasn't there. How we can consider that number if wasn't the effect present? It's just a symbolic way to say it?
Not symbolic, but I mean, this is what we hear from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So none of us have witnessed there, right?
That, no, because if he was meditating 100 years of his lifetime, and time wasn't present, the effect of time wasn't present.
Yes.
How we can consider those 100 years? It can be just supposed or something? Or
yes, so that is coming from, at that time, Vishnu and Brahma, the only two people were present, right? And they witnessed that. So it is coming from them, we assume. This information is coming from them. That is 100 years. No, there was no one else. Sukadeva Goswami wasn't present there to witness, he lived for 100 years, okay. Then I'll say.
Yeah,
so this information is coming.
Understand that time, different forms of time. Because Bhagavatam definitely specified 100 years of meditation.
Yes, so it has been specified, 100 years.
And his whole life is also 100 years. And you said time wasn't present, so how we can count the time? Because 100 years means that's a counting, it's effect, it's present.
Yes, so we can conclude in the way that this information is coming from Vishnu himself. So Vishnu would have given this revelation to great devotees down the line,
It's interesting when you say the effect of time, because it was present, but the effect is
Yes. Yes.
Trying to understand that part. Sorry,
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Even Lord Brahma is quite. He has body of intelligence. It's full intelligence. There are no other elements, just pure intelligence. So it is difficult to conceive, right? And same time, even in his lifetime, for example, when he got attracted to his daughter, and his own sons condemned him, right? So it was just in the mind, in intelligence, he felt that kind of attraction. But then he quit his body. We hear that in Bhagavatam. So imagine, same universe, he is still living. He hasn't finished his life, 100 years. He is in middle age right now, 51, and yet so many years to go. But he quit his body within that, and then again reborn. So how to understand that? So he quit that mentality. So that contaminated intelligence he quit, and then he was again reinstated with pure intelligence.
at the same time, he is unborn.
Exactly, he is unborn. And say, we
Same process like that.
yes, and we can relate to us also. We call second initiates twice born, dvijas, right? So we are in same body, but still we have taken second birth within the same body. So means our contaminated consciousness we left aside, and we now accepted a spiritual consciousness. That's how we are supposed to be, in one sense, after taking second initiation especially. So it's just a change of consciousness. So it is mysterious same time. It is not something we can take and measure and touch and feel. It is quite subtle, happening on subtle level. So this, when it says 100 years he meditated, it didn't have any effect of time that time.
I also sometimes
It is
understand the pastime of the turning of the ocean
Yes.
and kurma avatar, and also the kurma that is holding the whole planetary system.
Yeah.
Of the universe. Can we say two different kurmas? It's because the turning of the ocean was a near ocean, and this is coming from the ocean.
The same kurma comes, and they use him as a support, and that's what my understanding is. Yeah. And those 8 elephants sitting on hood of Ananta, they also came from that same churning of ocean. And then which milk ocean they churned, that is also, there is a one milk ocean in 7 Dvipas, there is another milk ocean in, yeah. So definitely not that Dhruvaloka milk ocean they are talking about, and maybe this ocean they are talking about. So it's different thing, now okay, Mount Meru went, they got lifted and then got there in a milk ocean, and then they churned there and then again moved back here. Could be. So as I mentioned, this goes in different manvantars and different kalpas. So which incident happened when, and at that time what the universal structure was. It might be different than the current one. So you need reconciliation there. So we sometime... Yes, so every manvantara is different creation happens, partial destruction, partial creation, and it might be different structure at different manvantara and different kalpa.
So can we understand that every day some variation of the same, well, we have a pattern, but every day can change some details.
Yeah, it can change, yes. Yeah. So maybe in some other kalpa, elephants are not there, right? So it is different. For example, Prithu Maharaj pastime, if we hear, so he introduced organized city life and agriculture. Can we say prior to that it wasn't there? No, civilization was there, but they were even more evolved. They were not primitive, they were more evolved, that they didn't need organized city and agriculture to live, you know. They were more evolved that, you know, for example, in Satya Yoga, you know, inhabitants were living in forest and they were self-sufficient, whatever was available. And they were just focused in that spiritual life. So they didn't need that. That doesn't mean they were primitive. They were in fact more evolved than the people coming in history later on. So, yes, different time, different creation, there are some details varies. So elephants, some creation elephants won't be there, some they will be there. Maybe Shesha is not there, someone else is supporting universe, so it can vary. So this information is not either in chronological and neither from one point of time, you know, in the history. It basically brings a lot of things from the past. So what happened when and what was the circumstances and situation at that time, we may not get full detail either. But the key thing is presented. As Prabhupada, you know, keeps hammering on each and every purport, even in creation, you know, he brings Supreme Lord. Why? Because we don't get swayed away thinking about, you know, how these inhabitants in heaven enjoy. Okay, let me worship sun god so I can get this facility. So that central point remains same, that, you know, Krishna is Supreme Being and we are meant to serve Him. So same mood Srila Sukdev Goswami has presented, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So it may touch upon different parts of creation, but central point remains same. So he brings prayers of inhabitants of Lord Vishnu. So where is what to do with of prayers in one sense? You know, you are explaining structure of the universe, and you are talking about prayers of inhabitants to Lord Vishnu. But no, the substance is this. The importance is given to this point, that, you know, don't get swayed away in all these things.
Basically understand the level of consciousness of different entities in different parts of the universe.
Yes. And
All related to Krishna.
yeah, purpose of our life.
May I ask you where we can get those photos or those pictures?
In the book published by Bhaktivedanta Vidyapit,
Can be online because it's only the book.
yes, they have published book. Online, I'm not sure they have, but online you can purchase. I can give you the source where you can purchase from. Okay. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jaya. Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur Premanande.